Hey everyone, today I will be doing a lesson on how I tab songs out by ear. This was requested by a Mr. Jonathan Daniel. He was looking for some tips on how to learn songs by ear. And honestly, I think this is going to be kind of a tricky lesson to do because I really don't think there's an easy way to learn to play by ear. Um, Honestly, I've been playing guitar for around 17 years now, and I didn't start really completely tabbing songs out by ear until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So, for a long time, I would pretty much rely on finding a guitar tab online if I wanted to play a song. And maybe I would tab out a small section in the song, a riff or two in the song. But for the most part, I relied on finding a tab online. So kind of goes to show that it can take a long time to learn. It take a lot of practice to get to the point where you can learn to tab a song out. And honestly, I think if I would have pushed myself early on, I could have gotten to the point where I was tabbing songs out a lot earlier. I wish I would have. But yeah, it definitely took me a long time. And so now that I've gotten pretty good at tabbing songs out, I've created my own website, and really the main reason I created that website is because I wanted to share my tabs for people that weren't able to make their own tabs yet. I know when I first started playing guitar at like 14, there was no way I could make an accurate guitar tab. So really, that's my main purpose of really making the covers and making the guitar tabs is just showing how I play the songs, because I know when I was 14, trying to find guitar tabs online for some of these smaller punk bands was really hard to find, especially trying to find an accurate tab. So that's kind of what I am trying to provide. But I do highly encourage people to try to learn to play to learn songs by ear, because it is a really valuable skill to have, and it's just a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, like I said, I don't think any easy way to learn. My best tip would be you're gonna want to learn to play a lot of different songs, and the more songs you learn, I think the more you can recognize patterns that are being played during the song, as well as a better idea of where the guitar is being played, like around. I I'm hesitant to say you'll learn how to just tell a chord by ear, because I still can't tell. I still can't just hear a note or a chord and immediately know what it is. Like if somebody played a G chord, I wouldn't be able to just immediately say, "Oh yeah, that's a G chord." Um, if somebody played a G chord, what I would do is I can kind of tell around where it's being played. So I'd probably be like, "Well, is it this? No. Is it this? No. Is it this? Yeah, that's it." So to me, it's still a lot of guesswork when I'm tabbing out a song. But I think the more you practice and the more you learn different songs, the quicker you're going to be able to find the right notes. And like I said, the patterns too. I mean, there's a lot of common patterns that get played in punk rock, especially. And like I should say, I've gotten good at tabbing out punk songs, but I'm not doing like crazy metal riffs. So I'm still doing the pretty easy stuff, but I mean, it's still a heck of a lot of fun. And so today, since I can't really teach too much. I don't think, I don't know how I would teach really how to learn to play by ear, because I think that's just something that will come with a ton of practice. Um, but and also, like I was saying, most people I don't think can just play and can just immediately recognize a note or a chord. I'm sure some people can, people with like perfect pitch or whatever. I'm sure some people can immediately recognize it, and that's awesome. I wish I could, but I think most people, especially if you're just learning, you're not going to be able to immediately find the notes. You're going to have to guess around, and I mean sometimes it can take a while, especially for like a solo. It can take quite a while trying to figure out which notes are being played. Um, and today, what I'm going to do is just walk through me tabbing out a new song. I think hopefully it'll be helpful just to see the process I go through when I'm tabbing a new song out. So I'm going to be tabbing out a Teenage Bottle Rocket song. I have a lot of experience tabbing out Teenage Bottle Rocket. I think I have around 90 of their songs tabbed out, and I probably only have like a dozen left to tab. So I've done a lot of their songs, and they're pretty easy to play. I can usually tab their song out front to back and have it done in maybe 15 minutes. So I think they'd be a really good one to try out if you're looking to try tabbing out a song on your own. Teenage Bottle Rocket would be good. Some other bands like the Misfits would be great. Ramones, Bad Religion, bands like that. A lot of times they're only playing a handful of chords in each song, and they're pretty easy I think pretty easy to tab out compared to a lot of other bands. Like, for example, I really love playing Booze and Glory too, and they're fun to tab out, but some of their tabs can literally take me like 2 hours to complete. And that's, some of their solos alone can take me like an hour to figure out. So, you pet one dog and they both come. So yeah, I wouldn't really suggest trying to tab out a Booze and Glory song right away because they're pretty hard in my opinion. But when you're tabbing out a band like Teenage Bottle Rocket, I think you can get it done pretty quick. So Teenage Bottle Rocket, Ramones are really good, Misfits really good. I would suggest trying to tab one of those bands out. So yeah, with all that said, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so today I'm going to be tabbing out On My Own by Teenage Bottle Rocket. First, real quick, I want to show you this program I use called Goldwave. It's like a music editing program. So what I use a lot for is I can tell the program exactly where I want the song to start. So for example, I can have it start from right there, and then let's say I'm done tabbing out this section, I can just say, okay, I want it to start from exactly right here. Basically, I can just keep doing that as I'm tabbing out the song, and I find this really beneficial because there's definitely times where you're going to need to restart at the same spot like a dozen times. So being able to pinpoint exactly where you want, where you're at, is really helpful instead of being in like iTunes and having to click around trying to figure out what part of the song you're at. But another thing with this program that's really nice is it has this option to slow the speed down. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but there's this option called 80% via similarity, and I'm not exactly sure what that means, but let's do that a couple times and I'll show you how it sounds. So yeah, you can see, you can hear that it's nice and slow. And this is really helpful if it's like a super fast song or a solo that's difficult. I'll slow it down like this, and I think this could be really helpful if you're just learning how to tab. If you can find a program like this that'll slow the speed down, that would make it a lot easier to find the notes you're trying to play. But on this song, I don't think I'll need to slow it down, so I'm going to do undo, regular speed here. And I'm going to go ahead and, like I said earlier, it's just going to be a lot of guess and check work now. It sounded like there was a solo being played, and based on experience, I'd guess it's probably somewhere around like the D or the G chord where it's being played. But I'm just going to start, I'm going to let it play and just mess around and, guess and check, as I said, and let's see if I can find the notes. playing here is... I think they're playing that 4 times. So let me double check that real quick. That is it, but I forgot this is played twice. Okay, so that is, the whole thing's played 4 times. So I think that was a really good example of how I tab. I think I was able to find the general area pretty quick of what they were playing, and I think that's a lot just due to experience. Like I was saying earlier, I've tabbed out a lot of Teenage Bottle Rocket. But I was able to find out the general area, and I was actually able to find out, I think, like the first couple notes right away. But then it took quite a bit of guesswork to find the rest of the notes. And that's just a good example of the type of kind of playing around on the fretboard that I, anyways, have to do to tab these songs out. So let's go ahead and go to the next section of the song. That was pretty easy, and you'll see this a lot with Teenage Bottle Rocket. A lot of times it's pretty easy to figure out. I think I have the chords they're playing. I think they're playing those chords, but I want to double check the number of times they're playing it. It's kind of like counting in my head, just trying to figure out, and I usually count by 4s. I kind of count like a bar of 4. But anyways, I'm going to play it again and try to count the number of notes per chord being played. Okay, so I believe it is and I believe they played that 4 times. And then it sounds like they're going back to this part. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is label this. I'll just label it the intro, and they're probably going to come back and play this too. Let's just go ahead and label this. So I don't spend too much time worrying about how I label these. It's not all too important to me, you know, whether it's technically considered the intro or the verse or the bridge or the chorus. I mean, chorus is usually a little bit easier, but I don't spend too much time worrying about it. But let's find out how many times they're playing. Looks like they're going to go back to the intro. So let's see how many times they're playing that now. So yeah, they just repeated everything here, so we'll go back and say intro times 4, verse times 4. Now this next part, I don't know what chord that was, so moving on to the next section. Let's see what they are playing now. but then after I think 2 times they played something different. I think it started with this, but I think they switched it up here. So let's try this again. So I think it's that. So okay. And it sounds like they're palm muting after this, but I don't know. So, if you're not familiar with tabs, the dot just means it's palm muted. Okay. I think that's right. Let me double check. So, some more palm muting. Okay, so I think it was this. And then, I don't know what was going on at the end there. sounds like they might just be playing, but yeah, they're playing those notes so close together. Let me slow it down. This could be a good opportunity to show where I would slow it down. So I'm going to slow this and try to get a better idea of what notes are being played there, because it sounds like they're playing two notes really fast together, but I'm not 100% sure what they are. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's that. And really, sometimes it's easier to tell, like, this sounds right, but more than that sounding right, this just sounds really wrong. When I listen to a song, that sounds very wrong, so it's kind of like, well, that one sounds right and that one sounds very wrong. I'm going to go makes the choice easier. So sometimes, for me at least, it can be easier to kind of spot the notes that sound really wrong, which I'll have a quick story here. You know, like I was saying at the beginning of this video, I didn't start tabbing out songs fully until recently, but even back when I was like 14 and 15, really right when I started playing guitar, I started writing tabs out in like this format. I would find them online and write them out on notebook paper, pretty much in the same format. And I still have some of those tabs from when I was like 15, and it's really funny to go back and play them because some of the tabs I was writing out were just completely wrong. Like, I don't know if the people that tabbed them originally, like the ones where I found them online, I don't know if maybe they were like in a different tuning that I wasn't aware of or what, or if they were just awful, but like it's very interesting to go back and like when I was 15 playing along to that song, I was like, oh yeah, this sounds great. But now I look back and try to play it, I'm like, oh my god, this entire thing is totally wrong. So that kind of goes back to my point too about how it's going to take most people, I think, is going to take quite a while to train your ear to recognize between different chords. So that's definitely a challenge, and I guess an unfortunate fact. At least it was for me. Maybe I just wasn't born with the best ears. But all right. So, anyways, let's get back to tabbing. Okay, so they played this again. I guess I'll label this the chorus. I don't know if that was the chorus, but I'll label that. So they played this whole part again, and then they started to play this, but I think they changed something up. So let's I think they just kept playing palm mutes. So let's see. was after that? Dang it. Okay. So is it that? Okay, so it sounds like to end it, they're just playing this. Wait. See, I think they're just playing that. Alright, there we go. So that is the entire song. So what I will do now, I'm going to rewrite this out into a nice format to put up on my website, but first I want to replay the entire song, make sure I didn't, miss anything or write anything incorrectly. So let me play through the entire song now. that all sounded good. Now I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite this all out in a much nicer format. I'll get out my good handwriting. So I guess I can just keep the camera rolling while I do this. And that is how I tab out songs. This is a pretty easy example. I think there's only, 3 or 4 different power chords used in the whole song. So like I was saying, if you want to practice, you could try some Teenage Bottle Rocket, especially earlier Teenage Bottle Rocket albums are really easy and usually only a few different chords are used. So that'd be an easy place to start. Them or Misfits, Ramones, like I mentioned earlier. So I hope you found this somewhat helpful. Sorry I don't have any better tips to give you. There's no like silver bullet on learning to play by ear, at least in my experience. It just takes a lot of time and practice. But it is very fun to do once you get the hang of it. So I'd say keep trying. Cheers.